Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today in this session we are going to discuss a major topic, a beautiful topic, that is reasons for agriculture distress in India or the reasons for farm suicides in India. In this topic I am going to provide you big picture over the situation of agriculture in India. We are going to discuss the problems of agriculture under various headings. So after this discussion of 20 or 25 minutes approx, you are going to get a complete overview of the situation of agriculture in India. Let's start. So we will have different points to write on under the problems of agriculture. So writing those points will not give us good clarity. Those points should be captured under different headings. So I have tried to capture the problems of agriculture under different headings called agroecological issues, then input related issues, then third major one is the institutional factors. The same points can also be captured under the different headings called at the pre-production level, production level, and the post-production level. So now let's start. The major primary reason, if I ask you what is the major reason for agriculture distress or farmers distress in India, is input cost is increasing while output, the productivity levels are decreasing. As a result, the farmers income according to the NSSO is approximately 10,000 rupees. So why this thing is happening? So let's start with our discussion under the agroecological issues. Agroecological means generally the natural factors which impact the agriculture. So the first factor, the major factor on which crops or cropping pattern depends is the soil. All the Indian soils are deficit in the nitrogen and the humus. Because of this thing, we should depend on the fertilizers, but we all know access to fertilizers depend on various other factors, man-made factors. So this is a prime factor which is impacting the productivity or the output. So this is the natural factor. First one is the soil, this primary reason of deficit of the nitrogen and the humus. And then temperature and water. India is a tropical country. Living in the geographical area of India is present in the subtropical regions. So there is a high amount of aridity. If you see the graph of India, okay, this entire subcontinent of India, this part is the dry zone or the drought prone area. So which is having the high levels of aridity. Sometimes whenever there is a deviation in the rainfall, this area will hit by the drought and the output or else productivity will fall down. So the temperature is the another factor. This is the natural factor. Not necessary the temperature high means not necessarily it is bad, but higher temperature coupled with lack of water and coupled with errant rainfall, this can cause huge problem. So temperature high, water levels, so this water distribution is also varying, right? We have varying level of spatial variation in the distribution of the water, right? Be it a river water or groundwater. So because of this thing, there is a aridity or else increasing dryness while the growth of the crops require the good amount of humid conditions in the soil. So these two are the next prime factors that is impacting the agriculture productivity. Now next prime factor is the rainfall. We all know the rainfall that we get in India is primarily monsoonal rainfall, but this monsoonal rainfall has the temporal variations and the spatial variations. What are these temporal and spatial variations? We will discuss someday in the under the topic of Indian monsoons. I will definitely come up with this discussion. Okay, so example you can give here. Okay, the Rayalaseema region lying in the rain shadow zone of the Western Ghats is generally receiving around 40 to 60 centimeters of the rainfall, and this is also zone where there is higher amount of farm suicides are happening, right? Now then next factor is the topography in the sense primarily what kind of geographical region it is, what kind of surface area it is, what is the slope area, what kind of rock structure it is there. So if the slope is very steep, like say your mountainous areas, be it a Western Ghats, be it a Himalayas region, be it a Aravalis, be it Eastern Ghats, so in these areas the development of the soil is very poor, and also these regions are very much prone to the soil erosion. So these are also the factors that can affect the output or else the productivity of the crop. So you have to write agroecological issues under these 5 broad headings. I hope you got the idea. Soil, temperature, water, topography, rainfall, how these things can affect the agriculture. Now these things are further affected by the one more factor called climate change, which you can say through IPCC reports there is a possibility of increasing aridity, there is more runoff, more soil erosion, which is impacting all these things. We can create the answer. So we have discussed one major heading. Then second major heading, all the inputs which I have said here, the input cost is decreasing. So why the input cost is increasing? Why the input cost is increasing? So farmer to grow and crop, he needs all these things as an input. He needs irrigation, he needs fertilizers, he needs power, he needs seeds, he needs pesticides, he needs credit, he needs land. Okay, so now why this input is considered as a constraint? Like I have said, our agriculture is primarily dependent on the rainfall. Okay, why primarily dependent on the rainfall? Because this irrigation currently it is available only around 46% of the net zone area. So rest of the 50% or 55% of the area is dependent only on the rainfall. But we have already seen this rainfall has the temporal plus spatial variations. As a result, there is huge potential of causing the agrarian distress. Let's say you thought the rainfall will be somewhere around 100 centimeters and you have gone for rice sowing, okay, but you did not get any kind of rainfall of 100 centimeters, or you got erratic rainfall, or you got somewhere 60 centimeters of rainfall, then there will be a crop failure, right? So as a result, there can be a farm distress. Now when such kind of crop failure happens, we need a kind of insurance facility. This takes the second point, next another point called the institutions. Okay, here there I have mentioned here insurance. We also have the scheme called Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. When such kind of crop failure happens, government will protect it. Okay, just like in the case of accidents, in the case of death, where the person is given lump sum amount. When the crop failure happens, the farmer is given some amount of money. Okay, but the penetration of the insurance, the Fasal Bima Yojana, is less than 25%. Let's come back to our discussion of inputs. Okay, the second major input is fertilizers. But what are the problems we have seen in the fertilizer sector? I have discussed this thing in the Telegram also. I have shared the document as well as a video on the fertilizers. Please go through that thing. So what are the major constraints in the fertilizer sector? We are primarily dependent on the imports, okay, to manufacture the fertilizer. We do not have the enough capacity to meet the demand. We are also the one of the largest producer of the fertilizers, but it is not able to meet the demand that is required in the India. So we are import dependent. Then access, your fertilizer ability or else usability will depend upon the how much level of irrigation you have. As the irrigation is itself is less, 46%, if you do not have enough amount of irrigation, you will not be in a position to utilize the fertilizer. So access is also less. And also fertilizers, the cost of the fertilizers is very high. Under the nutrient based subsidy scheme, only the price of urea is controlled, whereas the other fertilizers are market regulators, market based. So cost of the fertilizers are very high. So most of the small farmers will not be able to afford this or else purchase this subsidies. So again, the fertilizer cost, because of this thing, input cost is also increasing. Or the farmers will go for the urea, which is currently regulated by the government, but this is again affecting the soil. The soil will become poor in health. Then another problem, the power sector. So most of the farmers are getting the free power supply, big farms are getting more power, but this is causing the problem of groundwater. As the farmers are getting free power supply, they are using this power supply to dig more and more water through using tube well irrigation. So because of this thing, the groundwater is falling to the lowest levels. Some areas are considered as a critical areas in terms of the groundwater severity, loss of the groundwater. Okay, and this is also one of the problem where government is giving the subsidy for the power, right, power production. Because of this subsidy, the revenue expenditure is increasing and government is not having enough money to invest on the capital. Okay, as the revenue expenditure is increasing, capital expenditure is decreasing, right, or it is not sufficient enough to make the long term investment. These subsidies are the short term investment, they are not actually helping you in the production. Long term or else capital expenditure means which helps in the production for the long term, like say technology, research, roads, market, all these things considered to be as capital expenditure. But government is spending more on the revenue expenditure. Okay, we'll come to this thing again later. So power has been discussed. Now seeds, we have different types of the seeds, like say breeder seeds, foundation seeds, certified seeds. Okay, you need not know these things. Okay, but generally what is happening is whatever the seeds we have, they are spurious seeds or less quality seeds. They are not much very certified seeds. So because of this thing, your agriculture productivity is getting affected. The quality of seeds will affect the your agriculture productivity. 20 to 25% of your agriculture productivity depends upon the quality of the seeds. So this is also one of the major factor that is affecting your output. And then another problem is some of the not for some, okay, for the cotton, there is a genetically modified seeds they are being used, but the cost of GMO seeds are generally high. This is also increasing the input cost, and this is also causing the farm distress. And another problem is we are not doing proper necessary R&D for the development of the new variety of the seeds. Because of this thing, productivity or else outcome is stagnated, especially in the oil seeds. We have seen green revolution, which means highest amount of growth, rapid growth in the cereals, in the cereal production. But such kind of growth could not be seen in the oil seeds, which we consider as a yellow revolution. But yellow revolution was not successful. Why it was not successful? One of the major reason was lack of quality seed material. Then next input is a pesticide. We have these pesticides are guided by the Insecticides Act 1968, which covers registration, manufacture, sale of the pesticides. This class, but however, the problem in India is class 1 pesticides which are banned outside India are still being used in India. So pesticides are not being properly regulated in the India. So this is also one of the problem. Then another problem is the problem of credit. So whenever the credit is not being reached to the farmer through formal means, farmer will access the credit through informal means. So because of this thing, what happens? The farmer will get credit at a higher amount of interest rates. So input cost of the farmer will again increase, right? So this is also one of the major problem. Then land. What is the problem here? 85% of the farmers are small and marginal farmers whose land holding is around 1 hectare or 1.15 hectare. Okay, so somewhere like this. So what is the problem with this? If the land holding is small, if the land holding is small, you will not be able to apply proper level of inputs, like say fertilizers, power. So these subsidies, not subsidies, these fertilizers, power, these things could not be applied on this area, on this land area. If the land holding is very big in size, you will be in a better position to apply these inputs, and as a result output can also be increased. Okay, so this thing should be kept in mind. So that is the reason the small land holding or fragmented land holding is the problem. Why such a level of small land holding is there? Because of the family system. Okay, the father might be having 5 hectares. Okay, he might be giving to the different persons in the family. So this thing get fragmented. So that's the reason we are promoting the cooperative farming. Okay, so if the cooperative farming, in the cooperative farming, land can be pooled at different from the different people, and land size can be increased like this, and better inputs can be applied on it. Then next heading, institutional factors. Under the institutional factor, one of the major problem is the market. You all know our market of the farmer is regulated by the APMC. What are the problems in the APMC? I have already dealt this. I'll again deal this. So what are the problems under the MSP? The faulty MSP. Because of the faulty MSP, the cropping pattern is also getting disturbed. So from generally millets or coarse cereals, the farmers are moving towards the revenue generating cereals like rice and wheat, though it is not suitable for the that particular region. Okay, so but still farmers are moving. Even the region has much suitability for millets, oil seeds and pulses. The farmers are going for the rice and wheat because of the faulty MSP. So this is distorting the cropping pattern and causing the farmer distress. And insurance I have already discussed. Transport, there is no proper rural roads. Lack of rural roads means that will affect the market in India. Only when there is proper road facility, then only farmer can take his crop from his field to the consumer, right? If there is no proper road system, how will the farmer take this thing? Then another problem is investment. So I have told you government's revenue expenditure is increasing. So recently in this 2022 year, the revenue expenditure, especially for the food and fertilizer subsidy, has gone so high up to the 3 to 4 lakh crore. So now government is trying to cut down this thing. So you must have already known that capital expenditure government is increasing. Now it is around 10 lakh crore. So every year this capital expenditure is increasing. Okay, so this is one of major reform government is trying to take. Okay. So another problem is the infrastructure problem. Under infrastructure, the problems of warehouse, cold storage facilities, availability of internet. Only when you have the internet, you can access the market and you can know about the various technology or various facilities that are available for the farmer. If there is no such things, again, farmers' outcome will be affected. And then machinery, lack of enough machinery is also one of the major problem. Okay, so all these are the problems of reasons for the agrarian distress in India, or else constraints of the agriculture in India. So these points can be elaborated and can be written in a beautiful essay too. So if they ask you what are the factors affect the cropping intensity in India, you should be able to write the same factors. Now, what is the cropping intensity? Cropping intensity can be it is 136% in India. It is given by the formula gross cropped area by net sown area. Let's say you have the field. Now if this field, okay, you are using during the kharif season, okay, you have used this field 100%, okay, during the kharif season, okay, now you have again used during the rabi season, during the zaid season, okay, so you are using this field for 3 times. So this is called the triple cropping pattern, and this is called the cropping intensity is the 300%. So this is what gross crop area, how much times you have used the amount of area that you have. So it is on an average 136%. Why are the people are not going for the 300%? Again, it will depend on the same factors that I have mentioned here. So that's the reason the answer will remain same for the factors affecting the cropping intensity in India. Okay, now once the problems are discussed, now let's move to the impact or consequences it has. What are the consequences it has on the farmer? So the farmer will be fallen into debt trap because the input cost is falling and input cost is increasing and the output cost is not rising. Outcome is not rising, productivity is not rising. So farmer will face the issues of the poverty, debt trap, productivity will be affected. Then farmer will move to the urban areas. So rural to urban migration. Then feminization of the agriculture. Then feminization of the poverty can also happen, right? Youth will leave the farm fields. So all these things can cause the problems of the food security in India. Rural poverty can be caused. When there is a rural poverty, then even your industry and manufacturing sector will also be affected. Lack of supply chain development. How? Because the inputs of the agriculture will also be used as a output of the agriculture can also be used as an input for the various manufacturing sectors, like say your food processing sectors, right? So this thing will also be affected. And then what are the problems that government will face? So government will not meet its objectives under the DPSP. There will be social unrest. There will be higher inflation. The poverty will be affected other people also, other sectors also. There will be higher import cost. The forex will be affected. BOP crisis will face because our productivity has reduced. We have to import. So because of this in imports, currently we are also importing a high amount of oil seeds, so which is affecting our forex reserves. So all these things as a consequences can happen. So when we have to suggest the measures, we can take the measures that have been the committees, the major committees, okay, that were implemented by that were appointed by the government. The major such committees are Ashok Dalwai committee. Ashok Dalwai committee said why to focus only on the agriculture, expand to the allied sectors also. Okay, let's say all these things, be it blue revolution. Okay. Blue revolution, white revolution, red revolution. So expand the agriculture activities. Do not use the activities of the agroforestry. Just do not restrict only towards the farm sector. Even if the crop failure happens, you still will get the incomes through any mulching activities, through fish farming, through produce from the forest areas. Okay, so all these things can happen. Then decrease of input cost can also happen through practice of zero budget natural farming. Then you can also practice integrated farming. Then food processing, insurance penetration should increase. Apart from this, temporary support for the short-term measures can be provided in the form of income support. We also have this scheme. Which scheme is this? PM Kisan. Okay, then loan waivers can be provided. MGNREGA scheme as a temporary employment scheme can be provided. Then Food Security Act. Minimum support price as a market reform can be provided to the farmer. Then at the market level, we should also do certain other things like promotion of the exports. MSP should be reformed. APMC reform should happen. R&D activities, skill development, shift the farmers from agriculture sector to the manufacturing sector. Why there is such need? Currently, if you see the number of people dependent on the farm agriculture is around 55%, but the amount of GDP contributed by the agriculture is around 15%. So 15 rupees in be consumed by the 55%, while if you see the service sector, it is exactly reverse is happening. Okay, somewhere around 25% or people are able to generate nearly 50% of the revenue in the GDP. So there should be shift from the agriculture sector to the manufacturing sector, and within the agriculture sector also there should be shift from the cereals to the horticulture, or else to the allied agriculture sector, like say your milk revolution, to the fish farming. So these things will have better returns compared to the cereals, and the returns also need less amount of time. And then increase the credit facilities through the FPO, Kisan credit cards, etc. So I have tried to provide the measures also holistic in a holistic format. This is just a general broad overview of the topic of the agriculture. Every topic can also be the independent question. Every heading can also be the independent question. So I'll try to discuss all the topics depending upon the time availability. So I would like to discuss all the things. I hope you are liking the video. Please share and subscribe. Thank you.